Hey Gwenters, and welcome back for another episode of Gone Gwenting. Today we're going to cover yet another contract, Overkill, or how to win a round with 100 or more points than your opponent. So key here is always to remember, add the contract at the very beginning to your panel. So let's pop that open here. Again, so we have Overkill. I also want to point out 10-10 or 10 for 10 is somewhat related to this contract. You can get both of them at the same time, but it is pretty difficult. So I would actually treat these as separate, and I will make two separate videos on this. But you're going to want to start a new deck. I think Arachis Swarm is one of the easiest ways to do this. Since I first made this deck, there have been some changes, and since I recorded this, that actually benefit this deck even more. But you can see the 4 cards in there. I didn't even have Caran, or Caran, however you want to pronounce it. But I do have Kikimore Queen, who I think is the key for this. So you are going to want to save up some shards to be able to get Kikimore Queen. Also, as we add in here, I just want to point out she works really well with other insectoids. So you can do mass boosts. I think Armor's Workshop is one example to boost 3 units by 2 and give them armor. I think that'll be key for some of these insectoids. Mantlet will also give you some more armor. And one of the reasons for that are Andrega larvae and Kikimore worker rely on armor to protect them as they get boosted turn over turn. So you want to get in some padding there just to give them some deflection. But ultimately, armor isn't technically necessary, and you'll see why as we get into gameplay. As I've always said, you want to pay attention to whether or not the quest requires you to win, and in this case it does, but only requires you to win a round. You do not have to win the game that you're playing, you just have to win one of the 3 rounds. So one key for this deck is to just get as many drones out on the board as possible with that Kikimore Queen. The reason for that is every time you play another insect, she will boost all other insects by 1 in her row. So you can just feed massive points. And for those of you who are new, always good to keep in mind that you will have 9 on the front row and 9 on the back row. So, and sorry, let me correct that. Kikimore Queen will boost all on her row whenever her Thrive is triggered. So you got to have some higher point cards that are used here. So, and I'll make an intro video for those of you who are really new to the game on how Thrive works. So basically, it will boost that unit by 1 anytime a unit with a higher power is played. Something to keep in mind is it is activated after the deploy ability is used. So if you use like a harpy to consume a harpy egg, the base power is 5. When you consume the egg, it becomes 8. So it will then be counted as 8. So long as the Kikimore Queen is at 7 or lower, she will get boosted by 1 point. So Bone Talisman is a great card. I think kind of like a key end of round card to boost all units. If you have both rows filled up, that's 18 total cards. That's 18 points. 1 each for all of them. And that can be helpful for 10 for 10 as well. Barbugazi is really good. So with the Arachis Swarm ability, you can drop down 5 different drones wherever you want them. It's good to have some consumes, and I think Barbugazi is a great one with 2 consumes each. And I think Slizzard is another good one here. Will allow you to consume 1 unit in your row each turn, and then that order refreshes. So I added in both of those. Slizzard is actually one of my favorite cards in the Monsters deck just because of how much versatility it gives you with Death Wish characters and Dominance as well, because you can get that boost from characters that you eat. So Arachis Nest, that organic ability will be beneficial to let you spawn 4 drones. You can use Kikimore Warrior here as well to consume some of those drones and to spawn more Kikimore Warriors if you need to fill out your row. But as I discovered when I was making this, that's really not so much of a problem. Instead, I think you really have to pay closer attention to getting the maximum amount of boosts by lining up those thrives in proper order, right? You don't want to play a Kikimore Queen, then play a 7, boost her to 6, and then play a 6, and she won't get boosted. So you want to play a 6-point card after the 5, and then a 7, and then an 8, and then a 9, etc., etc. That will give you the maximum number of boosts, both the Kikimore Queen, but also to activate her, that ability where every time her Thrive is activated, she is going to boost all other insectoids on her row, which again is just massive. You're going to see how many points that can add, especially if you have a card that'll play another card, or a card that consumes another card. It just can be such a great strategic move to get these 100 points in one round. She's also key for my 10 for 10 deck. Again, I'm going to be recording that video. I've already got the footage. I just need to do a walkthrough overlay with it. So just kind of going through here, looking again, making sure we have all the cards that we want. I do have some extra scraps, so wanted to make sure that I had everything that was necessary. You can see I have the required number of units, but I still have 39 provisions available, and I still need 3 more cards to fill out my deck to the 25. So one thing I do want to note here, when you're doing an insectoid deck with Kikimore Queen, you really want to try to stick to insectoids as much as possible. I think Kikimore Worker gives you some good flexibility in being a kind of a high value insectoid card. Barbaghezi as well at 6, but I had to add in Old Spear Tip here to get a 9-point card to trigger that ability later on. Something else you can use, like I said, you can use consume cards. You can also use ghouls or Ozril to consume cards from your graveyard that will not delete cards from your deck, but also help you out there. So Arrakis Behemoth has since been boosted as a much better card now, but it still does spawn 2 drones, then boost all their insectoids in the row by 1. But I think they've added armor to the card, which I think was very necessary because it's kind of otherwise a pretty mediocre card. It only has 2 points, adds 2 from the drones you spawn, and then a boost by however many other insectoids you have. So something to just keep in mind, you can always, and they've since improved this in the search bar, you can type in anything that's on a card. So you can type in the name, but you can also just type in play A, as I've done here, looking for a play a card. Like I said, I wanted to try to get as many different cards that would allow you to play one and then play another. I think Dandelion is a good example of that, but he's a very high provision cost card. So, and then another one here too, looking at Wild Hunt. This card I think is super key. Caranthir Arfaniel. So Caranthir, if you play Witcher 3, super nasty. He's the navigator for the Wild Hunt, but here he has this incredible ability to spawn a 1-power character in the same row as him. And this is superbly key with Kikimore Queen. So going back to her Thrive ability, remember that whenever you play a card that's higher than her, it will proc her Thrive ability. So if you play Caranthir and he spawns a 1-power copy of Kikimore Queen, you will actually get both Kikimore Queen procced on the row at 1 power, but because Caranthir actually plays her first, as soon as he drops down after her, he will trigger her Thrive ability, boost her to 2 points, and then she will boost all other insectoids on that row by 1. So key here is to use the Arrakis Swarm ability or one of the other cards, like the Natural Selection card that will allow you to proc a bunch of drones on a row, allow you to spawn them. and that can be real key here. So I'm just going to jump right into the game footage. I could show you prior rounds. I'm just going to kind of wrap up this first round that I played. One thing I do want to say, you want to push them to 6 cards at least is what I would aim for. That way they will hopefully just pass on the second round. Because again, all you need to do here is win one single round with 100 points more than them. And just as you saw from that Geralt card, you just want to avoid being targeted by the enemy if at all possible. So you can see here we've got Endrega Larvae, they have Thrive ability, we have Caranthir, we have Kikimore Queen. We don't really need the ghouls because we need more insectoids in this, I think. And we already have the Harpy to spawn. We get double Endrega Larvae, which is going to be key. Now, again, like I said, the hope here is that they just kind of altogether pass. Sometimes people want to make a run at you. Sometimes they want to just milk you for some of your cards. But I've also found that people think they're geniuses when you're trying to accomplish contracts by getting you to play your best cards, and when all you're trying to do is accomplish a contract. So again, you can do these as one thing to always remember: below, when you choose to play a match, you can always click the unranked box if you're concerned about your pro ranking or otherwise. But just like you saw there, this guy's like, yeah, I played a 4-point card, he only played 2 points, what a moron. When our goal the entire time here is to just get 100 more points than him. So we need to target 104 points. And so this is something to just kind of keep in mind as we're working through this. But right now my goal is get down as many insectoid cards as I can. That way when I play down the Kikimore Queen, she'll boost all other units. And when you're working on 10 out of 10, you're going to learn this better than I did here. But you want to spawn those drones first. This was a moronic move on my part in terms of getting extra points. I could have boosted, so played down the drone, consumed it with that Kikimore warrior, and then played down all of the other drones at the same time and boosted each of them by another point. So, you know, not everybody can be a genius. So another thing here too is get rid of Caranthir with Consume in order to proc the Thrive ability. But I shouldn't have played that Harpy if I was going for 10 out of 10 before I played Barbagezi or Kikimore Worker. So again, this wasn't the cleanest play. I also should have thrown down the other Kikimore Queen on the other row to start getting these boosts every time. But, you know, not everyone's a genius. And I certainly wasn't when I was playing this match. I've played a lot more games since. This was some stock footage I made a couple of months ago, as with my other contract videos. It just kind of got backed up from personalized stuff. But I've since learned how to be a little bit more thoughtful, and so please take this time to learn from my mistakes. But you also see here, this is sufficient to get you the win. So this one is much easier, I think, Overkill is, than is 10 out of 10. So you can see here we've already got 105 points. So we are now good to go. We have 100 more points than he does, and we have officially won the round. I just wanted to try, as you'll see, to go for 10 for 10. But like I said, I wasn't as smart then as I am now, and I was obviously pretty bad at math. I saw several 8s and was like, oh, cool, I can get this if I throw down Osriel and then old Spear Tip. I checked my graveyard to make sure I had a 7. I did. Oh, look at that. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 10s and 1, 2, 3 9s. So pretty depressing. Got close, but like I said, had I played that a little smarter, I might have actually got my 10 for 10. You just have to pay really close attention when you're trying to accomplish that contract. It requires a great level of precision and counting ahead of time. So as you'll see here, obviously he has 10 cards in hand. I have 3. He locks Ruin off the get-go, then drops down Immerlith with his old ability where he gets to do damage every turn. He does 2 if he has dominance. I like the new ability more. Now he will set a card's power to 7. And if you have dominance, you can set an enemy's card to 7 as well. But here you go. You see, we got the Overkill contract. That's what it takes. So again, thank you guys for watching. Any feedback you have is always welcome. I'm trying to improve these videos, trying to create better content for you guys, especially in this new wave of Gwent players. We have a lot of people out there, a lot of new people who want to get keys, get cards. That's what this channel is dedicated to, at least for the moment. So if you have new ideas, you have new questions, you have some other thoughts on cards that could have been subbed into this deck, just let me know. I will try to post a deck below that I've since tweaked a little bit that's a little bit better for 10 out of 10, and you can try to get both these contracts at once, but wait for that upcoming video. I think you're going to like it. These, in my opinion, were 2 of the harder contracts to get, so after you knock these ones down, it's a bit of a downhill slope from here. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I'll look forward to going Gwenting with you. Take care.